Assalamu alaikum. Today in this very lecture, I will be explaining the carpal tunnel and the carpal tunnel syndrome, right? So let's start from the general introduction of the carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel is actually a tunnel that is present at the wrist, and the carpal tunnel is actually supplying the flexor tendons and the median nerve, right? So let's start from the osteology or the bones that are involved in the carpal tunnel, right? So as you know that at the wrist we have 8 bones, right? We have 8 bones at the wrist, right? And these bones are forming 2 rows. Each row consists of 4 individual bones, right? Now the row that is in contact with the radius in ulna, that very row is called the proximal row, right? That very row is called the proximal row. Proximal row. And the row that is in contact with the metacarpals, that very row is called the distal row. Right. Now, the carpal bones are arranged in the form of arch-shaped structure, right? It is arranged in the form of U-shaped structures or arch-shaped structure, right? As you can see in this very picture, this is basically the cross-section of the wrist, right? I have basically cut it the wrist, and now we are looking at the cross-section of the wrist, right? So these greenish structures are basically indicating the carpal arch, and the carpal arch is formed by the carpal bones, right? So these are basically the carpal bones, right? And these are arranged in the form of this U-shaped structures, right? Now, the pre-edges of the carpal arch are connected by a structure, right? And this very structure is called the flexor tendon, right? This very structure is called what? The flexor tendon, right? So this black structure is what we have, the flexor tendon. Right, and the flexor tendon is actually converting the carpal arch into the carpal tunnel, right? So before the formation of the flexor tendon, this was just an arch, right? And after the formation of the flexor tendon, flexor retinaculum, actually not flexor tendon, the flexor retinaculum, right? After the formation of the flexor retinaculum, this arch is converted into a tunnel, right? And now this is called what? The carpal tunnel, right? Now the carpal tunnel is conveying the flexor tendons, right? As I have already told you, right? Right. So the carpal tunnel is conveying the flexor digitorum profundus. These 4 are the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus. These are the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus, right? And superior to these tendons, we have the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis, right? But the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis are arranged in the form of 2 rows, right? Right. One we have the superficial row and one we have the deep row, right? So these 4 are basically indicating the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis, right? These are, we have the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle, right? And as I have already told you that the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis are arranged in the form of 2 rows, right? One we have the superficial row and one we have the deep row, right? So the superficial row consists of the tendons that are concerned with the middle finger and the ring finger, right? So these are the tendons that are concerned with the middle finger and the ring finger, right? And now the deep row, the tendons of the deep row are concerned with the lateral finger and the index fingers, right? Now the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis and the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus muscle are now covered by a synovial membrane, right? We have just a single synovial membrane, and that is enclosing both the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis as well as the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus muscle, right? And that is why this membrane is called the common synovial membrane, right? This is called what? The common synovial membrane. This is, we have the common synovial membrane, right? Now, the common synovial membrane is actually, open laterally. It is open laterally. As you can see, it is open laterally, right? Why it is open laterally? It is for the reason that the blood supply to these very tendons is actually from the lateral aspect, and that is why the lateral margins of the common synovial membrane is open, right? That is why the lateral margin of the common synovial membrane is open, right? As you can see in this very picture, right? One more thing regarding the flexor retinaculum. The flexor retinaculum is attached medially with two bones, right? Right, it is attached medially with the two bones, right? One we have the passiform. One we have what? The passiform. And the second one we have the hook of the humet, right? The hook of the humet, right? While medially the flexor retinaculum is again attached to two bones, right? It is one we have the scaphoid, the tubercle of the scaphoid actually. And the second one we have the trapezium, the tubercle of the trapezium. Right? Okay guys. Now let's talk about another flexor tendon, right? And this tendon is basically the tendons of the flexor pollicis longus, right? So this is basically the tendon of the flexor pollicis longus muscle. The tendons of the flexor pollicis longus muscle. And this very tendon is also covered by a separate synovial membrane, right? This is also covered by a separate synovial membrane. Now we have a nerve that is passing through the carpal tunnel, right? And the location of this very nerve is lateral to the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis and the flexor digitorum profundus, and medial to the flexor pollicis longus muscle, right? So somewhere here we have a nerve, right? Somewhere here we have this very nerve, and this very nerve is called the median nerve. This very nerve is called what? The median nerve. And this very nerve is very much important. This very nerve is actually supplied to the lateral 3.5 fingers. This very nerve is supplied to the lateral 3.5 fingers, right? So this very portion of the hand is basically supplied to the, this very portion of the hand is supplied by the median nerve, right? So this was all regarding the carpal tunnel, right? Now let's talk about the carpal tunnel syndrome, right? So the carpal tunnel syndrome is basically a condition in which the median nerve is compressed, right? When there is the compression of the median nerve occur, then that very condition is called what? That very abnormality is called what? The carpal tunnel syndrome, right? What will happen in the carpal tunnel syndrome? The compression of the median nerve will occur, right? And this compression can be caused by multiple reasons, right? It might be that the tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis, the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus, and the tendons of the flexor pollicis longus, if they swell, then what will happen? That the median nerve will be then compressed, right? Or if the tendons are slipped from the synovial membranes, right? Then this might be the another reason of the compression of the median nerve, or any trauma, or if any trauma occurs, the trauma might be the cause of the carpal tunnel, right? But you should read the carpal tunnel syndrome actually, but you should remember that the carpal tunnel syndrome is basically a condition in which the median nerve is being compressed, right? So that very condition is called what? The carpal tunnel syndrome, right? So this was all about for today. And if you like this very video, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And do share this very video to your other friends so that they could get equal benefit out of it, right? So I will meet you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. Allah Hafiz.